Okay, perfect. There we go. So initially, as I've been moving into a regional role and helping the team leaders, I created this, and it has now kind of evolved for the team leaders in our region. And so then several people had asked me to share it on the team leader page, all around being able to learn how to tell our story better. So I created this kind of simple and easy PowerPoint, and my hope is that it will really help you guys and give you some thoughts today. Because where we are at right now in our market and in our company, we have so many great, amazing stories to tell. We just need to tell them. And I think if we think about, so John Davis has asked us lately on a regional level to rate ourselves. So when we think about telling our story, would you rate your, well, two different things. Telling your story inside your market center to your own agents, and then telling your story outside your market center to the companies around in your market. And so if you were going to rate yourself from like preschool to elementary to middle school, high school, college to PhD, think about and maybe even write down where you would rate yourself on a level of how great are you doing at telling your story inside and outside your market center. Terrell, I see you.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on. So we're going to think about where would you rate yourself in telling your story. And hopefully today, oh, okay, sorry. I'm getting a lot of people to say, can everybody mute themselves if you're not talking? Yeah, if you're not talking right now, will you mute yourself? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then you can unmute when we have a question. Lots of background noise, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you guys. Okay. So what I want to do is start this PowerPoint. I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and then we'll kind of, if you have any questions, just unmute yourself and ask, and we'll kind of go through. Meta, because I can see you, will you just like put a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, so here we go. Hopefully this will help you guys. Let's see. Hold on. Let me minimize this so that you don't. There we go. Okay. So are you telling your story? Learn how to effectively tell your story to get more market share appointments. Here we go. So if you aren't telling your story, someone else is. And remember, even when you are not telling a story is still being told. I think that's awesome. Because a lot of times we think that if we're not telling our story that we're not, that nothing negative could be being told, and that's not necessarily true. So, okay, here's where we're going to start. So what can we do to tell our stories better in our market centers and for our agents? So Linda McKissick talks about this in her Profit Share Mastery class. If any of you have taken it, you've heard it before. If not, it's awesome. But when we're thinking about human beings, there are only 3 ways that people self-discover. So if we think of this in terms of a recruit, when they're ready to make a change, they have to self-discover. So the 3 ways that humans self-discover are 1, through stories from other people, 2, through asking questions, and number 3, through experiences. So what we're going to talk about is the first one, which is telling your story to help people self-discover. So many of you have probably seen this, and hopefully some of you have shared this. But if you haven't, I just wanted to re-bring it back up because it's not too late to tell this story. So 2017 results. And guys, if you don't care, please just hit mute so we don't have a lot of background noise, because I'm still getting a lot of people saying they're hearing background noise. So in 2017, thank you, we were the largest real estate sales force in the world. We were #1 in sales volume and units in the United States. We had $1 billion in counting in profit share pay. We had over $8 billion in agent income in 2017 alone. More real estate offices and real estate agents in RealTrends and the Wall Street Journal than any other company. We were the #1 training company in the world. We were the #1 happiest place to work in America, and we were in the top 13 places to work. Top 13 in America. And then our KW culture was taught at Stanford and Harvard. Those are all really great things. And I'm going to send you this slides, this whole PowerPoint if you want, so you guys can kind of copy and use, paste and use some of these things too. So we can start with telling this story because it's not too late to tell that. This is what I really would encourage you to write down. So we learned this in the regional meeting, or the regional director meeting in Austin. And I think this is awesome. And so some of you may have already heard these, and if you have, this will be a repeat. But if you haven't, these are the top 5 stories that we need to tell today on a national level. Number 1 is Kelly. So think about this for a second. This was about 2 weeks ago. So these numbers have probably increased by now. But as of about 2 weeks ago, 8,537 referrals have already been sent through the referrals network. And that's with less than 5% of our agents having even logged in and referred. So with 100, and this number is higher now, with I think it's closer to 164,000. Let's just use this for math. With 162,947 agents in Keller Williams and an average sales price of $300,000, that's $48 billion worth of possible referrals for KW agents only. So we've got to start telling, and you all are going to see more and more some of the awesome referral stories that are coming through from Kelly, but that's a big story that we need to tell on a national level. The second story is in 2011, KW had 32 million in profitability. In 2017, last year, we had over 200 million in owner profit. So we had a 456% increase in profitability in the last 6 years. That's an incredible story to tell, because I'm 99.99% sure that no other real estate companies and franchises have had that kind of an increase. The third one is the March net agents, and I actually put that on a whole nother slide next because I think this is so important to share. So I'll tell you that one. The number four story that we need to be telling right now, in March, Keller Williams made up 30% of the total growth of the National Association of Realtors, and that included our own numbers of what we added. So that's a huge story. I mean, that's massive, massive. And then since the fifth thing to tell is since March 15th, Keller Williams has recruited over $2.3 billion in production of 10 million or more producing mega agents. And Keller Williams was named truly the place to be for mega agents and teams. I know some of you have muted yourself, but have you guys, I would love to get some feedback really fast. Have you guys seen this? Did you know these things? Or is it new news?
This is Kimberly in Tampa. I have seen this.
Hi, Kimberly. Thank you.
Yes,
Awesome.
so I have, and I will tell you, I've told probably 2 of these stories, and I need to tell the other 3.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So if we go to the next slide, which was number 3, the March net agents. And actually, I believe this was year to date, not just for March. I need to double check that, but just so you guys can see. So if we, and maybe you've seen this, but if not, this is to me an awesome story that we've been telling. So Coldwell Banker had a net agents of 630, Remax 299, Berkshire Hathaway 341, Century 21 102, and Better Homes and Gardens minus 86 was their net agent count. So all 5 of those companies had a net agent count of 1,336, and ours, Keller Williams, was 1,321. So do y'all feel like that's a good story to tell? Because I do. I think that's incredible. Especially when we're meeting with recruits and talking to recruits. I mean, I would bust this out and show people. I think this is an incredible story to tell when you're talking to other agents. This was just to reiterate, the $2.3 billion of real estate production of 10 million plus producers have joined Keller Williams. And it's a tidal wave. And I think that sometimes when we focus on someone that leaves, instead of focusing on all of the millions of production that we've been recruiting into our company, that's the story that we need to tell, because that's what our agents want to hear. So I put this in here to share with you guys. So in the first quarter alone, Keller Williams was featured more than 15 times on Inman. And I know that you probably should have already gotten these emails about being able to get the discounted Inman rate. I believe it's like $49 for the year, I think I saw. So this is something that we need to tell very loudly in our markets and in our communities and to our agents, because a lot of our agents don't even get this stuff. And I am an agent, so I can say this, but most of the time they are so wrapped up in the, just the daily grind of everything, and they work in their business, not on their business. And we've got to be able as leaders to take this stuff back to them. So these Inman articles are fabulous to be able to share. Keller Williams partners with Nextdoor for data insights. Keller Williams debuts AI virtual assistant and referral. I mean, all of these Inman articles are awesome to share. And here's why. This is the value of telling our story from these Inman Select articles. These stories are they add external validity to your conversations. And that's a huge thing, especially when you're meeting with mega agents. As disruptors continue to enter the ecosystem that you created us together, it's critical that our leaders understand the new environment we and our agents are facing. And they'll run our playbook, and we need to understand how the field has changed. So we need to use these Inman articles as a leverage piece. And then the other thing I put on here is I think it's awesome for us to join in on these conversations. I got on, and you can see like there's a ton of Keller Williams leaders who have commented on the Inman articles, and there's a lot of other companies who have commented also. So, I mean, we need to be getting on there and telling our stories on Inman so that these other people from other companies are seeing the great stories that we're posting too, if that makes sense. This just came out, and a lot of you have already seen it, and I never say this right. Swanepoel, I'm not 100% sure how to say that. I think I screw it up every time. But was your market center or group on this list, and are you celebrating it? So I thought this was super cool, this list that they send out every year. So Keller Williams had the largest presence on the list. That's a huge story to tell in and out, inside of everything else. That's a big story to tell even if you weren't on the list or your market center wasn't. So in total, 304 franchises, including Keller Williams Go, which that's, I believe, Smokey and David Osborne Management at number 13, made the top 1,000. So out of the top 1,000, Keller Williams 304 franchises were. RE/MAX followed by 204 on the list. And then I thought this was cool. They put us in this article and said it's exciting to see more than 300 of Keller Williams' top producing brokerages recognized on the list. Taken all together, our brokerages represent a full 19% of the ranking's total sales volume. And I think that's cool. So these stories, telling these stories, making sure that we drip this back down to our agents is so super important. The next thing I thought was really worth bringing up, you guys, we all get these emails. I believe they come out every Friday from John Davis, and I can be vulnerable and share with you guys that I get so many thousands of emails, like I'm sure you do too, that for a very long time I would read them when I could, and if I didn't get to one week, I skipped it. I would really encourage you, if you're not reading these, to read them, because they're follow-ups from the growth initiative calls, and they've had some awesome information in them lately. And I like this that John sent, I guess this was week before last. But just talking about when a top agent joins you, communicating it out to everybody. So I circled this part because I wanted to share with you guys something cool that happened to us. But when a top producer joins you, who are you telling? And how are you sharing that value consistently? So in the Ohio Valley region, one of our market centers in little old Bowling Green, Kentucky, and they might be on here, I'm not sure if they are or not, but we went down and we were able to recruit a 40 million producing team week before last in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So I had, it was awesome. So I had heard from John at the RD meeting that anytime you a mega team over 30 million joins you, that he wants to know, so that we as a company can tell that story and celebrate. So this is a screenshot that I took of my text, and I wanted to show you this because, one, I think it's awesome, and two, I just want to encourage you to do the same thing when you're recruiting these big people. So I sent John a text and just wanted to let you know that we had a 40 million in volume last year. Join us. It's truly a story to tell. For their area and for our region. I let him know who the OP and the team leader were. I included them on the text. I sent the name and phone number of the mega with his team and just said we would be so thankful if you could find time to shoot them a quick text and welcome them, and we appreciate you. And then I showed him how on the next slide, Tony is the mega, how he had just told the story and said that he was excited for the Win Crew to join the Keller Williams brand. And you guys, within less than a minute, John responded, "This is outstanding news. Way to go to all of you. Way to go after market share. Tell your story. Congratulations." And I think how do you guys feel about that? I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's awesome. We're excited.
Jason, you're on. Yay. Yep. Yeah. So I just want to encourage you to be able, this is just a part of telling your story. And I love that John, and I believe John texted Tony. And so I think it's awesome to be able to see this, to be able to share your stories. So this came from Masterminds, and it's what's the story. So where do you rank your market center, like we started with, on telling your story inside and outside of the market center? So our story must be told inside and outside the market center. Our agents are the most effective storytellers, and that is so important because we have to teach them what to say. It starts with us as the leaders first, and the better that we do at telling our story, the agents are going to be 10 times better than we are. And then we must repeat and model the language of business. So I wanted to give you guys actually I think I've got 2 slides worth of just ways to tell your story. And these are just things that either I've seen that I think look awesome and work, or things that have worked really great for me and other team leaders that I'm friends with. So the very first thing is the lore post that show your agent's business increase since joining KW. And then I said, remember, this is a retention tool too, because I can tell you that these are agents in my office, and they loved that we blasted this out and sent this to people. Mostly anything that you're going to see on here was, do you guys like that?
Yeah. Love that.
Okay, cool. So thank you. So mostly anything you're going to see that we've made or has this was made on Canva, CANVA. Most of you probably are using that, but if not, whoever is in charge of this in your market center, Canva, CANVA is like the easiest, freest, best way to do it. And I think I hope I don't overpromise and underdeliver here. I think I can share some of these if you want to email me. I believe Canva can do that. I'll have to have my assistant look at that to double check, but that way you don't have to recreate the wheel. So the lore post. So being able to pull monthly some of your agents and spotlight them and see how much their business has increased, and then blast this everywhere. Tell it inside your market center, blast it on your social media, tell it outside your market center. And then we took this a step further in our market center, and we mailed this to our top 50 target list of recruits. And it actually set a capper appointment like within that very first week for Heather, my team leader there, because she said, just for a quick example, she said, I worked with Barry Jackson for 2 years when he very first got his license, and I can't believe that he's already a capper. You know, that has my interest peaked. So lore posts that show your agent's business increase since joining KW. The second one is your training calendar. Show your events and classes. Tell the story that we're the #1 training organization. And being able to show what great trainings and training events and classes you're having, even at a regional level in your market center, all of those things. The third thing is a follow-up to that. Tell the story when you have a packed training class, and create that FOMO, that fear of missing out is what I always call it. Tell the story when you have, 50, 60, 100 people in a training that you've hosted or that you've held, because people need to see that you're doing that, and they need to have that FOMO that they're missing out if they're not there. The Success Leaves Clues post, weekly or monthly, that's on the next slide. I'll show you what that is. I think those are so awesome. When you win awards or you're recognized by your region, by your local board, by your market, by KWRI, tell that story, because the one thing I always remember, and I hope you guys would agree, successful people want to work with successful people. High-minded people want to work with high-minded people. And when you are trying to go after that caliber of recruits, they want to know that you're just as successful as they are in their minds, that your market center is on the top. So make sure that you're telling your story with those things. And then this is kind of a given, but when you have a grand opening, a relaunch, or a celebration. So here's just some things. So that Success Leaves Clues, I love that. I think that's awesome. It's just another way of recognizing your people and how much their business is up. And these are in your toolbox. That You Made History this month. Those are great ways to tell your story. When I know a lot of us are already doing this, but when your agents cap, when you have a celebration, when you win awards, local expert rock stars, and then when you have a big packed class, I mean, there's nothing better than other people saying, wow, look how they had 100 people in their class that they had. The biggest piece of this that I just want you guys to kind of identify with is think about and identify who on your team is your social media / storytelling person. This is no longer like a team leader's world of everything falls on the team leader. This is a team effort and a team sport now. And so you've got to figure out who on your team is actually going to be the person to be in charge of this and to tell your story. And maybe it's 2 or 3 or 5 people, but the market centers that I see, especially in our region, that aren't telling their story at a high level, it's just because they haven't identified who that person is that's responsible for that, if that makes sense. So a couple more things. When you attend KWRI trainings or masterminds, make sure that you're telling that story, because other companies typically don't have the stuff that we have. Tell the story when you hang with your top people. So that will encourage agents within you and strive to be a part of it. Celebrate your agents when they join. Let people know everyone's making the move to KW. This is a big one. That we've been doing. I just think it's awesome. Celebrate the day in your market center when you start profit sharing. When your expenses have been covered, they become profitable, because that's just a great way to talk about profit sharing. And then when your agents are having a huge success, celebrate those. These are a couple of things I've just seen on social media that I thought were cool. That being able to really celebrate those.
Okay, good.
Hey, if you guys aren't on mute, will you try to mute yourself, please, just so everybody can hear? That would be awesome. Thank you. So this is just another way of telling your story. I kind of put this in here so we could focus on when we are hanging with our top people. So this was something when we started the Comma Club in our market center, which was for people who had a comma in their profit share number. And those were kind of our top agents in our market center. And then the bottom left, this is the Indy office in Indianapolis. The team leader, Justin Strange, took his ALC and his staff to a Catalyst one-day event week before last that I thought was so awesome. And it just showed that they were really hanging with their top and that they value their people. And then I think these are I just love these quotes, so I put them in here, but let whoever think whatever, just keep getting better. And it's you against you. Stop comparing yourself to others. Just be you at your level 10 and go and do it and tell your story and be able to come up with what story you want to tell. So 2 more important ways to tell your story. The first one is your training tracker. These are all of the ways where you can and should communicate your training tracker, your T2 story within your market center. When people are coming to classes and they're making 356% more GCI or 200% more, closed volume or whatever those numbers are, that's something that we need to really make sure that we're telling and we're communicating that out in all of these areas so that we can, it helps with our retention, it helps with recruiting, it does all of those things. And then the second thing is your pink and green. So we're doing something in our region now where after transmittal, every market center is going to send us the 3 ways that they're going to tell their story for the next month. And I would really encourage you guys to put that system in place in your market center so that okay, these are the 3 ways that we're going to tell our story, because we all can find a way to tell our story. No matter whether you're pink or green, or did you get a great capper mega agent join you that month, or did you have a packed training class? Any of those things. The one little note that I want to make on here is just remember when we are telling our story, we need to find a way, at least one of those 3 ways, to make sure that it resonates with our agents. So for example, like on this example, closed GCI being up 34%, that's awesome. That means something to our agents because they know that that's them. They're making 34% more, and so it doesn't, not necessarily just making it all about the market center, if that makes sense, but being able to give something back for the agents too. I love that this is a quote that Diana shared, and it said, our commitments are only as strong as our ability to recommit over and over again. There's nothing wrong to recommitting to old goals. You haven't failed. It just means you haven't finished. So if we haven't been great at telling our story, that's okay. We just have to make a plan and have a system and recommit that we are going to make this a priority and continue to tell our story in a great way. So in ending, I would challenge you guys, what one thing are you going to do today to start telling your story? And then what's the one story that you can tell today? So think about what one thing you're going to do to start telling your story better, and then what one story can you tell today? And that's kind of it in a nutshell. Oh wow, we had 64 people jump on. So do you guys hey press. So do you guys have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, ideas, stories? Yes, I'll send you guys the presentation of the slides. Thanks, Matt Templeton. You're so sweet. Yes, I'll definitely send you guys that. But any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, you can go to the bottom left and unmute yourself.
Dana, do you have a specific written system on how your TLs are pushing it out to the market? So it's all written down.
Yes and no. So right now we're having everybody identify their one person who's going to be in charge of that. Then after transmittal, they're actually sending back to me a Google form of their top 3 things that they're going to pick to tell their story that month so that we can tell them also. But more, it's just an action item to get them to identify those 3 things.
Okay.
A lot of people have been putting their director of agent services and or director of first impressions in charge of a daily storytelling. So what one way today are you going to tell our story? So every single day they're telling a story, and based on their morning huddles, they're picking what's the best story to tell. So as far as like an actual system plan, Kimberly, no, not really, but I can think about working on. We could put something together.
Well, we're working on this as well. So I was like, you've already got some stuff. So I'll send whatever we're working on, and maybe together we can figure this out.
Perfect. Awesome. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? Is this helpful?
This was very helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, there's tons of comments, so you guys must be muted.
Hugely helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Awesome. So glad. Let me just make sure there's no questions. Oh, identifying our 3 stories. Dave Chubb, outperforming board by 25% in sold listings. That's awesome because that's what the agents want to hear. So the more that you can tell for them, that's great. Just making sure there's no more questions. Yes, you'll share the slide. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Cool. If there's no more questions or comments, then I think that we might be done, and I'll share with you guys the presentation, and then anything you ever need, I'm here to help. But go tell your story because we need this all as a company together to be able to help tell each other's stories so that we can go out and gain more market share for us and for our company and for our people.
Awesome. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you,
I don't know
guys.
why he's so
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you.
See you. Thanks.
Welcome.